The family meeting was going exactly as I'd expected. Dad sat behind his desk in the cramped office above Harrison's Hardware, our family's store of 3 generations. Mom stood beside him while my brother Michael lounged against the wall, trying to hide his smirk. "Look, Sophia," Dad sighed, shuffling the papers in front of him. "The store isn't doing well. We have to make cuts somewhere." I knew where this was going. Ever since Michael had crashed his 3rd car in 2 years, the family finances had been stretched thin. The hardware store, once the pride of downtown Portland, had been struggling against big-box retailers even before that. "Your brother needs reliable transportation for his new job," Mom added, as if a position as a junior sales rep somehow justified everything. "And your allowance is paying for my computer science courses," I finished. "The ones that are helping me modernize the store's inventory system. For free." "About that," Dad cleared his throat. "We've decided to put the modernization plans on hold. The old system works fine." Michael's smirk grew wider. The old system was a mess of handwritten ledgers and a cash register from 1995. I'd spent 6 months developing a digital inventory management system that could save the store thousands, but Dad refused to implement it. Too modern, too different from how his father had done things. "No more money for you," Dad announced firmly. "Michael needs the car more than you need those fancy classes." I sat very still, letting the words sink in. 6 generations of Harrison men had run this store, each doing things exactly like his father before him. When I'd shown interest in the business, it had been dismissed. Hardware stores weren't for daughters, especially ones with crazy ideas about modernization. "I understand," I said quietly, standing up. "Good luck with everything." "That's it." Michael pushed off the wall. No arguing. No tears. No. I smiled, thinking about the meeting I had scheduled for tomorrow morning. Everything's very clear now. I walked out of the office, down the creaking stairs and through the store floor. The shelves were disorganized, the inventory spotty and the customers few. But beneath the dust and dysfunction I could see what this place could be. My phone buzzed, a text from my business partner, Angela. "Bank approved the loan. Meeting with your uncle tomorrow at 9. Uncle Robert, Dad's younger brother who'd been bought out of his share of the store 20 years ago. The brother who'd encouraged my interest in computers, in business, in making things better. The brother who'd been quietly helping me plan this moment. I texted back, "Perfect. Bring the papers." That night, I sat in my apartment above the coffee shop across from Harrison's Hardware, finalizing the business plan I'd spent months preparing. Dad thought I was taking computer science classes, and I was. But I was also taking business courses, learning about retail management, studying successful hardware store chains that balanced modern efficiency with personal service. And I was building something of my own. Web Tools, a software company specializing in inventory management for small retailers. We had 10 clients already, with more signing up each week. The profits from that, combined with the bank loan and Uncle Robert's investment, had given me exactly what I needed. Tomorrow, I wouldn't be the daughter begging for an allowance to fund her fancy classes. Tomorrow, I'd be the CEO of Web Tools Enterprises, making an offer to buy Harrison's Hardware, an offer the struggling store couldn't afford to refuse. My phone buzzed again, Uncle Robert this time. "You ready for this, kiddo?" I looked out my window at the store below, thinking about generations of Harrison men doing things the same way, about daughters who weren't supposed to run hardware stores, about brothers who got everything handed to them. "Ready," I typed back. Time to bring Harrison's Hardware into the 21st century. The next morning I dressed carefully in a charcoal gray suit, professional but not flashy. The kind of outfit that said CEO without screaming it. As I crossed the street to Harrison's Hardware, I saw Dad unlocking the front door, his movements automatic after 30 years of the same routine. "Morning, Dad," I called out cheerfully. "Is everyone here?" He looked surprised to see me. "Sophia? We don't open for another hour." "I know. But my 9 o'clock meeting requested the full family be present." "Meeting? What meeting?" Before I could answer, a sleek black car pulled up. Uncle Robert stepped out, followed by Angela and our lawyer, David Chin. Dad's face darkened at the sight of his younger brother. "Robert? What are you doing here?" "Business meeting, George," Uncle Robert replied calmly. "Why don't we head up to the office?" Mom and Michael were already upstairs, going through yesterday's receipts. They looked up in surprise as our group filed in. "What's going on?" Mom asked, her eyes darting between me and Uncle Robert. I took control of the room just as Angela had coached me. "Thank you all for meeting this morning. I'm here representing WebTools Enterprises to discuss the acquisition of Harrison's hardware." Dad's coffee cup hit the desk with a thud, dark liquid splashing across the old ledgers. "The what?" "WebTools Enterprises would like to purchase Harrison's hardware," I repeated clearly. "We've prepared a very fair offer considering the store's current financial situation." Michael laughed. "WebTools? Never heard of them." "No reason you would have," I smiled. "We're a newer company. Tech startup specializing in retail management solutions. I'm the CEO and majority shareholder." The silence that followed was deafening. Mom's hand flew to her throat, Dad's face turned an interesting shade of red, and Michael's smirk finally vanished. "You," he choked out. "A CEO?" Angela stepped forward, spreading documents across Dad's desk. WebTools Enterprises has shown remarkable growth in its first year. Our client list includes 15 retail establishments across 3 states, with projected expansion to 50 stores by year's end. "Those computer classes," Dad said slowly. "They weren't just courses. I was building a company. One that's now worth considerably more than this store." David Chin, our lawyer, cleared his throat. "The offer is quite generous, given Harrison Hardware's current debt load and declining revenue." Wait just a minute," Dad interrupted, standing up. "This is a family business. We don't need some fancy tech company coming in and—" "I am family," I cut in. "And this isn't a hostile takeover, Dad. It's a rescue operation. The store lost $50,000 last quarter. Your suppliers are extending less credit every month. And that new car of Michael's? It wasn't just my allowance that paid for it, was it? You took out another loan against the store." Mom gasped. She hadn't known about that. "How did you?" "I've been watching. Bernie. Planning. Everything you wouldn't let me do officially I did anyway. And now I'm offering you a way out, one that keeps the Harrison name on the door and the family legacy alive." Uncle Robert stepped forward. "George, listen to her. She's got vision, something this place hasn't had since Dad died." "Vision?" Michael scoffed. "She wants to computerize everything, probably turn us into some soulless chain store." I pulled out my tablet, pulling up the 3D mock-ups I'd prepared. "Actually, I want to blend the best of both worlds. Keep the personal service, the expertise, the community connection, but add modern inventory management, online ordering, mobile point of sale. Everything I tried to tell you about before you cut my allowance to buy Michael another car." The mock-ups showed Harrison's hardware transformed, clean, organized, efficient, but still with the wooden floors and brass fixtures that had made it special. Still a family store, just one that could compete in today's market. Dad stared at the images, his coffee forgotten. How much?" David stepped in with the official offer while I watched my family's faces. Mom looked shocked but thoughtful. Michael looked like his world had tilted sideways. And Dad looked like he was seeing me for the first time. Dad's hands shook slightly as he reviewed the purchase offer. The number at the bottom, enough to pay off all the store's debts and leave a comfortable retirement fund, seemed to physically pain him. "This is..." He swallowed hard. "This is real. You actually have this kind of money?" "WebTools Enterprises is very successful, Mr. Harrison," Angela confirmed. "And the bank has already approved the funding." "But you're just..." Mom started, then stopped herself. "Just what, Mom? Just your daughter? Just the girl who wasn't supposed to run a hardware store?" I kept my voice gentle but firm. "I'm also the CEO who built $1 million company while you all thought I was wasting time with fancy classes." Michael, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, finally spoke up. "So what happens to me? To my job?" "That depends," I replied. "Are you willing to actually work? Learn the business properly? Because under new management, there won't be any more free rides or new cars every time you wreck one." Uncle Robert suppressed a smile as Michael's face reddened. "The offer includes management positions for both you and Dad," I continued. "Dad as a senior consultant, helping maintain our relationship with long-term customers. And you, Michael, can start in inventory management, learning the business from the ground up the way I did." Under you? He asked incredulously. Under the owner of the company, yes. I turned back to Dad. You have 24 hours to decide. The store lost another $3,000 last week. How much longer can you keep going? Dad looked around his cramped office, at the water-stained ceiling and outdated equipment. At the ledgers showing increasingly desperate numbers. At the family he'd tried so hard to protect by doing things the old way. Can I? He cleared his throat. Can I see those plans again? The ones for the store. I pulled up the 3D mock-ups, this time including the financial projections. With modern inventory management and online integration, we can cut waste by 60%. Add in mobile point of sale and targeted marketing, we could increase revenue by 40% in the first year. Those numbers seem optimistic, he muttered, but he was looking at the designs with new interest. They're based on actual results from our other clients, Angela provided. We've done this before. But not with your own father's store, Mom said quietly. No, I agreed. This one's special. This one's family. 24 hours later, I stood in the same office watching Dad sign the final papers. His hand was steady now, his expression a mix of resignation and something that might have been pride. Just promise me one thing, he said as he handed over the keys. Promise me you won't forget what makes this place special. I learned everything about customer service and community from you, Dad. That's not changing. We're just making it better. 3 months later, Harrison's Hardware reopened after extensive renovations. The old wooden floors gleamed beneath modern lighting. Tablets replaced paper ledgers. The inventory system I'd designed years ago finally hummed efficiently in the background. Dad, after initial resistance, turned out to be an excellent consultant. Customers loved seeing him on the floor, sharing his decades of expertise while using our new mobile system to check stock and place orders. Michael struggled at first with actually having to work, but something changed in him after he mastered the inventory system. Maybe it was seeing what real responsibility felt like, or maybe it was finally understanding what I'd been trying to tell them all along. Mom helped with community outreach, organizing workshops and DIY classes that brought in new customers and strengthened old relationships. The store became a blend of old and new, tradition and innovation. 6 months after the takeover, Dad called me into his old office, my office now. You were right, he said simply. About everything. The store, the modernization, all of it. I was so caught up in doing things the way they'd always been done, I couldn't see we were dying. Change isn't always bad, Dad. No, he smiled slightly. Sometimes it comes in the form of a daughter who sees more than her father did. I looked out the office window at the busy store below. Customers moved easily through well-organized aisles while staff used tablets to provide instant assistance. The Harrison's Hardware sign still hung proudly outside, but now it represented something new, a bridge between tradition and progress. You know what the best part is? I asked him. What's that? I didn't need that allowance after all. He laughed, then really laughed, and I knew that sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. Sometimes it's showing those who doubted you that you were right all along, and then bringing them along as you build something better than anyone imagined. Even if it takes buying the family business to do it. 1 year after the takeover, I stood on the newly renovated second floor of Harrison's Hardware, watching the holiday shopping crowd below. The store had exceeded even my optimistic projections, becoming a model for how traditional businesses could adapt to modern times. Ms. Harrison? Our new assistant manager approached. Your brother's presentation is ready. I smiled, remembering Michael's journey over the past year. After mastering the inventory system, he discovered a talent for technology that surprised everyone, especially himself. Today he was presenting his ideas for expanding our online presence. The conference room, once Dad's musty office, was packed. Michael stood confidently at the front, tablet in hand, looking nothing like the entitled young man who'd smirked at me a year ago. As you can see, he gestured to the projection screen, our online tutorial series has gained significant traction. We're averaging 50,000 views per video, and it's driving foot traffic to the store. Dad sat in the front row, beaming with pride. After initial resistance, he'd become our best asset in creating content, his decades of hardware expertise now reaching a global audience through Michael's video series. The DIY community loves the authenticity, Michael continued. They trust Dad's experience, and our sales data shows they're coming to the store specifically because of his tutorials. And the mobile app? I prompted. Launch is set for next month. Customers can check inventory, watch tutorials, and schedule consultations, all integrated with our existing systems. After the presentation, Dad pulled me aside. Remember when I said computers would ruin the personal touch? Hard to forget, Dad. You said it at least weekly. He chuckled. Now we're reaching more people than ever, teaching them, helping them. Just like my father did, but on a bigger scale. Speaking of scale, I handed him a folder. Web Tools just acquired Peterson's Hardware in Seattle. They want you and Michael to help implement our system there. His eyes widened. Me? You're our secret weapon, Dad. Nobody knows hardware stores like you do. Combined with our technology. I smiled. Well, the numbers speak for themselves. Mom appeared with coffee and her famous cookies, now a store tradition during her weekly DIY classes for local kids. The community center called, she said, arranging the cookies. They want to feature us in their local success stories series. Apparently, we're inspiring other family businesses to modernize. Speaking of success stories, Michael joined us, tablet still in hand. Uncle Robert's here with the quarterly reports. Uncle Robert entered, grinning. Who's ready for some good news? We gathered around the conference table, no longer just family enduring an awkward meeting, but a team celebrating shared success. Revenue is up 85% from last year, he announced. The online store is thriving, in-store sales are strong, and our customer satisfaction rating is at 98%. And the education program? Mom asked proudly. Your DIY classes are waitlisted through next summer, I confirmed. And Michael's tutorials just hit 1 million subscribers. Dad shook his head in wonder. All this from the daughter I wouldn't let run the store. No, I corrected gently. All this from a family that finally learned to embrace change without losing what matters. Looking around the room, I saw what Harrison's Hardware had truly become, not just a modernized store but a symbol of transformation. Dad sharing his expertise with a global audience. Mom building community connections. Michael finding his true talents. And me, the daughter who'd had to buy her way in, now leading our family legacy into the future. Oh, by the way, Michael added casually, remember that car you bought me last year? The one that ate my allowance? I raised an eyebrow. I sold it. Used the money to invest in developing our mobile app. He grinned. Figured it was time I funded my own projects. Dad raised his coffee cup. To Harrison's Hardware, past, present, and future. To family, Mom added. To change, Michael contributed. I looked around at my family, no longer divided by old prejudices and expectations, but united in building something remarkable. To all of it, I said. And to allowances that turn into empires. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't proving others wrong, it's proving yourself right and then helping them succeed alongside you. Even if you have to buy the family business to do it.